Looking at UVTV, motherfucker. I'm at the kick spiritual ass and dudes for my people. On God. Nia, nigga, for them, yeah. Today, we're going to be talking about how to get better at conducting public speaking / being an orator using astrology. So I'm gonna get clear cut. I'm gonna just get straight to the point and really get into it because y'all understand what public speaking is and stuff like that, and that stage fright and trying to build yourself up to try to find a way of expressing and have your own personality and your own personal way to conduct yourself to make it relative to being in front of a live audience and to articulate yourself in the best way, shape, and form when it comes to conducting yourself in a public arena. So, um, you're gonna build yourself up using these qualities, right? You're gonna look at the 11th house. It's mainly the 11th house, but I'm gonna show y'all how to build yourself up too and stuff like that because everything's gonna be a build up based upon the 12th house all the way up to the first house. But the specific ones you should focus on, at least from an overall perspective, would be the 11th house and the house lords in the 11th house, and then your 5th house, which is just the opposite of the 11th house, and it's a fire house. 11th house is an air house, air pocket, and then using the 5th house as fuel for what you're doing in your 11th house, and then you build on top of that with your first house, and from you using your first house is gonna make it so you're gonna have your individual way, personalized way, because that's what the first house represents, the I am type of energy, the personality, personal issues, insecurities, and affairs, and how you personally go about things and stuff like that, how you deal with your personal life, and when it comes to putting yourself first. The 11th house deals with making your individuality dualistic. So when you put yourself first while also making it relative to other people put themselves first. So making your individuality dualistic and being around other individuals and stuff like that. And I'm gonna get into all that. Now, the 11th house deals with how to conduct yourself in a public arena, public relations, broad networking, socialization, humanitarian / recreational and communal affairs, associations, and subjects that are dealing with the unknown and unfamiliar, at least relative when it comes to you. Now, it can extend into science or occultism and mysticism, aka look at mysticism like mystery. The mystery is your story. So before it becomes history, you're learning the mystery behind history. So you're learning about your magical thinking. You're learning about your manifestation, manifesting men and women. You're learning about the subconscious realm, the spiritual realm, the creativity realm. You're going to create your own way of how you want to conduct yourself in the flesh into the physical and the external tools and technology that get made from the flesh. And then you're going to externalize that and have your own way of conducting it in the physical, so you could be a walking example or an inspiration to somebody else of how to do it. So taking that spirit and turning it into a mentality, a thought, idea, feeling, emotion, a vision, a dream that you want to conquer, a dream that you actually want to live out in the physical based upon the subconscious realm, and then making it conscious, making it physical, making it material, make it something that's grounded, making it something that's sensual, making it something that you can actually touch, making it something that we can see in day-to-day life, and making it relative so we can keep that trend of line of reason and going and stuff like that. And also you being a walking example of how it would look like to actually play out that energy and stuff like that. So what y'all be calling celebrities doing this on a mass, what we call like celebrities doing that on a mass scale, or star players doing that on a mass scale, or like a chief or like a general and stuff like that, whatever the fuck you want to call it, a role model, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, a pioneer, a trailblazer, you know what I'm saying? So boom, when it comes to the 11th house, now I'm gonna put myself on the cross so I can make this easier to understand and stuff like that for all these different placements. I'm gonna just use myself in my own chart as an example, but you can utilize your own chart to figure out your specific way of how you would conduct it and stuff like that, because that's a whole different video. If I sat there and I start breaking down every single thing for every single 11th house uh star alignment and sign, and the houses and the house lords and shit like that, that's a whole different video that would probably go on for 2 hours. I ain't gonna lie, the way my ass be yapping, but yeah. So when it comes to me, right, I have my 11th house in Sagittarius and stuff like that, and fixed star Antares and stuff like that. So that's like Archangel Uriel type of energy and stuff like that. That's really a different video. I'm not gonna get into that. But like my 11th house is in Sagittarius, right? And Sagittarius deals with being mutable, adaptable, and changeable to my own and other people's ways when it comes to seeing and feeling, when it comes to intuition, burning through reality, visions, better supported by the 9th house, because Sagittarius is better supported by the 9th house. The 9th house has to deal with knowledge, wisdom, experiences, higher means of reasonings, philosophical points of views, God, spirituality, preacher teacher type of energy, philosophy. So having my own philosophical point of view of how to look at something for the most part. on a broad scale. So that's why when it comes to Sagittarius's or the ninth house just in general, they'll talk about long distance travel and stuff like that. So looking at something broad, because if it's broad, that means it's long distance. So you able to go the distance in the space that you in, and you able to break the parameter or break the limits of what it just got condensed into and stuff like that. So it got condensed into a mind and then expanded into uh the ethers and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like you expanding your mind. So from you expanding your space, you're expanding your mind, and you expanding how much you know in the flesh into the physical based upon your awareness and your comprehension. You get it? You know what I'm saying? So just on top of that, right, it's fire and an air house and stuff like that. So it's gonna be a good relationship because it's gonna create that sextile type of energy. So it's gonna create an opportunity for that air pocket, that air house, that 11th house and stuff like that, right? And you know what I'm saying? From it being Sagittarius, it's a fall time type of sign for the most part, right? And it's ruled by Jupiter. So it being a fall time type of sign, that's like a fallen angel is going to fall. Angels going to be seeing high regard and stuff like that. They're going to see it as spiritual. They're going to be seen as heavenly beings and stuff like that, divine beings and stuff like that. So creating your own way of how to go about something, the spirit that you in, the space, the productivity, and based upon that creation of that atmosphere is going to be the sphere at most, so the world at most and stuff like that, and it's going to bring down into a fallen angel. So it failed. So if it failed, it drifted down and it descended from the ascension it was just at. So from the first house all the way down to the goddamn ninth house and stuff like that. So it being that is mutable, adaptable, changeable when it comes to what I just said, like mutable, adaptable, changeable to their own other people's ways of seeing and feeling when it comes to intuition and burning through reality and all that type shit, right? But because it's fallen, it's gonna deal with more the 3D. So it dealing with the 3D and the conscious awareness in the physical realm and the material world and stuff like that is able to be spontaneous when it comes to going with long distance travel when it comes to things of the flesh. So when it comes to knowledge or wisdom and philosophical points of views and the preacher teacher type of energy and experiences and expanding and contracting, that's really like it being ruled by Jupiter and stuff like that. I'm gonna always have some type of expansion, contraction, experience, and experiences are just your spiritual experiments based upon what you observing and trying to expand your mind, expand on that thought, expand on that feeling, expand on that emotion, and contract it into a new mind, a new thought, a new feeling, a new emotion, a new, you know what I'm saying? So just from that going on constantly is going to create a pulse, is going to create a sensation, is going to create sentience and stuff like that. So based upon that mental stimulation and things of that nature, right, is going to make it so, oh, I have a lot of fiery type of energy when it comes to how I conduct myself in the public arena. I'm going to have a lot of spontaneity and knowledge, wisdom, and experiences when it comes to the unknown and unfamiliar based upon me having a lot of meaning and reasoning behind what I know. You know what I'm saying? And knowledge is just knowledge. So it's infinite. You know what I'm saying? You always gonna know some shit. Even if you don't know about it, okay, you had that awareness that you knew that you didn't know about it. So it's just about doing it in moderation and trying to figure, you know what I'm saying? Because like on a lighter scale, your spirit know that you don't know that much about it, but you knew something about it. You know what I'm saying? So it's based upon that awareness. Now you can expand on that and start to gain more experiences like in the flesh and stuff like that to understand what the fuck going on and add more you know what I'm saying, mental resilience, and add more scars to what the your soul is bearing at the moment and stuff like that. So you went through something, not taking shortcuts. You went through the experience. You went through the ups and downs and stuff like that. You went through the different thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions of how it would feel like to actually do that thing because you actually played it out and you being a walking emanation of what that is, which is like a starlight being and stuff like that. So look at it, because a star is just a celestial body from a luminous point and stuff like that. So a point of reference, you doing it for the first time, you being unexperienced, and then you getting more experience if this was something that was actually going on physically in so on shape and form. So you took something that wasn't a shape and form, right? And it was just out in the atmosphere, out in the air and stuff like that. And you turned it into a shape and form. You turned it into a light body. Your light body is just your mentality. You turn into a thought. You turn into a feeling. You turn it into an emotion. And then you fester with that man, which is manifesting, and you materialized it and you grounded it in reality. You plan it out through the body, through the flesh, through the physical, based upon the blood, adrenaline in the organs, and the passion and motivation and attention, and from you paying attention to it, you add intention, which is just friction, and it's gonna end up add a whole bunch of friction, and it, you know what I'm saying, blowing up to where it actually gets condensed into an actual shape and form to where it's being played out into the physical and stuff like that, which is how we keep on coming back, and also how we keep on expanding, contracting when it comes to our mind and our spirit, just in general. So just in general, right? It makes me, when it comes to my public speaking ability and learning about the unknown and unfamiliar and networking and association and stuff like that, I have to do it in a real Sag type way. Sag type energy and stuff like that is real spontaneity type of energy, because I know how to make that fall into the flesh, into some way, shape, and form. So I have a lot of fiery energy when it comes to things I can see in the conscious realm and stuff like that, just from an overall point of view. And I know how to use it for recreational use. Oh, I can make a community out of that. I can make some type of reserve out of that. I can do that when it comes to humanitarian type of acts and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I can get looked at in that revolutionary type of lens for the most part, because the 11th house, it backs and support Aquarius, right? So it's gonna give like this revolutionary, rebellious, but I'm able to be unique, different, original with my way of how I structure my life when it comes to how I communicate, because I'm able to fixate on my own way of thinking and communicating when it comes to how I conduct myself in the public arena. So for me doing it like that with that sweat sage quality, when it comes to how I conduct myself in the public arena, I have to talk about it. I have to talk about things in a real sage type way. So I know, like in general, right, when it comes to my channel and shit, like, oh, it's a spiritual channel, it's a metaphysical channel, and a physical channel type shit, right? But just in general, I always talk like that. And I always came from that intention first. I always came from that essence and that substance first. I always came in like a sage type of energy. What is that? My own philosophical point of view, preacher teacher type of energy and stuff like that. Like I always look at things like that. But when it comes to how I speak in the public, that actually helps me. Like the more I actually talk about things I've actually observed, or things I actually like experience, or things I'm very aware about or knowledgeable about, or I can extract wisdom out of it and stuff like that, or you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about the knowledge of what I know based upon my awareness. Other people can extract things, like, extract gems out of it, and they can look at me like I'm a wise man, or like a sad guru, or some shit like that, or some spiritual guru or some shit like that. But it's only based upon the sentience that I made from being born into existence, and me manifesting that and trying to materialize it. So I just add on to the dialogue of my thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, and I just keep going along with that process, and I don't take a shortcut. You know what I'm saying? I just try to be more broad as possible. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to making it as relative as possible and stuff like that. I try to create my own atmosphere, my own world, and then I can make that world make sense in the body, in the flesh, in the external world. So it's like yeah, I have to have a lot of that spontaneous type of energy for the most part. I have to talk like that. Like I have to talk like I'm a goddamn philosopher and stuff like that. Even when I'm not trying to talk like that, I'm gonna come off like that. But how I conduct myself in a public arena, I need to add that energy to that. So from it making like a sextile type of energy, because it's a fire sign in an air pocket, an air house, I'm able to fulfill that space and add a whole bunch of different thoughts, ideas, when it comes to the fuel for whatever vision that I'm seeing, and I feel, and I just go based off that intuition, and I try to make that make sense in reality while also burning through the reality of what that is. So I don't even have to look at a physical representation of how that look like. I can just get some type of intuition, but I can make it relative to the external world in some shape or form. And Sagittarius are really good at that. You know what I'm saying? So based upon what I'm observing and my experiences with that thing, and then from that spontaneous type of energy, and the reason I keep on saying spontaneous type of energy and stuff like that, because of the Jupiter and stuff like that, and they're all about experiences, and it's a mutable fire sign. So it's being mutable, adaptable, and changeable. So I'm able to be flexible. I want to understand what I'm experiencing, and I want to understand other people's perspective of what they're experiencing, and then I can get a broad point of view, because I can see, oh, what's the overall of that? You know what I'm saying? What's the overall perspective? What's the overall temperament? What's the overall character? What's the overall thing that I'm looking at the moment, just in general and shit. So when it comes to how I conduct myself in a public arena, I'm always gonna come off in a Sagittarius type of way. But that's what helps me be better at public speaking, because I have to come at it from that lens. I can't come at it and, like, you know what I'm saying? It's based upon the modality and the element. It's mutable fire, Sagittarius. I have to come in that type of way. And then based upon the different correlation with the different signs and shit like that, I can see what specific way I would have to come through that. But when it comes to that area and that pocket in that house, when it comes to 11th house, it's overall gonna be viewed in a real Sag type way, and I have to come at it in a real Sag type way. So it's either an energy that I'm doing, or it's an energy that I have to pay attention to other motherfuckers who also come like that. So other philosophers, other teachers, other preachers, other sad gurus or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Other spiritual motherfuckers, other religious motherfuckers, even though I know what religion and religious motherfuckers in that position really in, but people will look at them like that. So I want to understand, you know what I'm saying, their perspective, their outlook, their worldview. You know what I'm saying? Like, I will gain a lot based upon learning other worldviews and sitting there and observing other people's world, and I try to make that relative to my world so I can see the broad point of view of overall, okay, what's the overall thing happening though? And then you start seeing it more in God's type way. God is just all possibilities. Oh, I can see all possibilities when I look at it from the broad worldview based upon something that's based upon my bias and your bias. You know what I'm saying? So I'm able to look at it from an equilibrium state of being and shit like that, and I can make it more relative, so I'm able to jump in and out that pocket. So I'm always going to be in that spiritually free energy, and all fire signs love doing that, especially when it comes to Sagittarius. They often like when you goddamn try to self-project a certain thought, idea, or feeling or emotion on them, because they look at that as a spiritual cage. So at that point, I'm always going to be spiritually free. You want to know why? Because I'm not letting a certain thought or a certain bias or a certain worldview or a certain perspective control how I'm looking at it type shit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking at it in a more balanced perspective. So I'm not lost into my bias, but I do have my own subjective point of view. But I'm also not lost into the world's bias either. And then I can see the overall objective from everyone's subjective point of view, which is just God, which is just all possibilities, all of existence, all of creation. Oh, based upon the whole existence and the whole bubble in itself, the whole world, what's something that's even more broad than that before it even becomes something in the flesh? And then I get cold with it. And then you see why I got the channel that I got. You see why I be talking the way I be talking. Oh, God. And then boom, on top of that, right, I got my 11th house Lord. I have my 11th house Lord in my 6th house. So the 6th house deals with scheduling, routine, doing things on a day-to-day basis, working on something, and doing things in moderation for the most part. And that deals with the 6th house. So from me having my 11th house Lord in the 6th house is going to add that consistency type of energy and doing things in moderation and compartmentalizing and looking into the details. You know what I'm saying? And the devil's always going to be in the details type shit. But for the most part, for me looking into the details of that 11th house energy, I start to get better at it. So look at it like this. From me having that 11th house Lord in my 6th house, because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and then my Jupiter is in my 6th house. I have to be consistent when it comes to knowledge and wisdom. I have to be consistent when it comes to having a whole bunch of different experiences. I have to be consistent with how I expand. I have to be consistent with how I contract. Look at that as expanding out of a mind and contracting and condensing into a new one for the most part. And then I have to be consistent with God, all possibilities. I have to be consistent with higher meaning and reasoning. So look at it as like morality or something like that, some high moral standard. But based upon high moral standards, morality is just the actuality or the overall reality when it comes to something that's good or bad. But things can be relative when it comes to looking at things in that world, because in the spiritual world there is no such thing as positive, negative, or good or bad. It's just a polarity type of thing. So it's not really good and bad, it's more like positive and negative. But something could be positive or productive when you do something in your way, or you feel like it was right for you to do that, or righteous or just, or it was rightfully so. And when someone else do it, it could be wrong for them or counterproductive for them or not as efficient for them because they're not you. Everyone has their own mind and their own sentient essence and substance and their own way of thinking based upon their own perspectives and stuff like that. So based upon what they're comfortable with doing, some people are more comfortable and it's more productive for someone to do something, but compared to you, it's harder for you to do it because it's more unproductible or it's not as relative or it's not make it's like the epitome of like someone else could do something and it makes them be themselves. But if I try to do that, it's gonna make me feel like I'm not being myself. Like it's not my character. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that generally resonates with me, even though there's nothing wrong if you go do that thing or express yourself in that way. It's just not how I express myself. You get what I'm saying? So overall, that's what morality is. So like I'm saying that to say I have to be consistent when it comes to those things just in general. And the more I be consistent when it comes to how I conduct myself in the public arena and stuff like that, if anything, it make it so I like basically what I'm doing in this video right now and stuff like that. When it comes to public speaking, it's almost like I'm kind of put into a position. Oh, you have to get consistent and be working on your ability when it comes to public speaking, because you're actually going to be naturally good at it the more you start focusing on that pocket in Pacific, and people are going to see your individuality and your personal way of how you go about something, and it's going to make you be looked at more as an individual, but also making it relative to other individuals. So it's like all the way down to the video I'm making right now. I'm making a video of how to get better in conducting yourself at public speaking and being an orator and stuff like that. But I'm kind of in a position to where I have to, you know what I'm saying? Like I naturally kind of like the more I focus on that house and focus on that energy, the reason how I know how to do that is because I had to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm put into a position where it's like naturally, oh, you're naturally good at that. So from your natural abilities and talents and gifts and skills and stuff like that, give niggas game on the skill set of what you know how to already naturally do. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah. And then on top of that, right, you're going to take the 11th house and then you're going to build on the 5th house. The 5th house deals with your expression, creativity, creative mechanisms, how you want to have fun and enjoy yourself, the things you choose to entertain, whether that's a person, place, or thing, how you entertain, your inner child, and the things you're entertained by. So from it being in the 11th house, the opposite of that would be like the 5th house and shit like that, right? So the 5th house deals with like what I just said, like you're expressing and shit. And then I'm gonna speed through these last ones and stuff like that because these are just extra gases, extra tools you can utilize in your little toolbox, esoteric toolbox, and that back pocket energy to help you fuel that energy so you could utilize that for your 11th house, which is overall helping you when it comes to public speaking and how to conduct yourself in a public arena and your public persona and stuff like that. So just in general, right, you'll take 5th house qualities, right? And my 5th house is in Gemini. So my 5th house being in Gemini, when it comes to my creativity and my expression and what I choose to entertain, I like to entertain a lot of Gemini shit. So what is that? That's being mutable, adaptable, and changeable with my own and other people's ways when it comes to thinking and communication, when it comes to logic and rationality, when it comes to the things that I'm familiar with in my environment and surroundings. So whether that's close friends, close family members, close siblings, or things that's relative to where it's close to me. So look at that as like my neighborhood or like anything dealing with like the social arena of something that's relative to me. So like look at that like, oh, like I live in Georgia and I live in Atlanta. So Atlanta would be relative to me. That's something close, right? So it's because you know Gemini is about supported by the 3rd house and stuff like that. So it's gonna be that social arena, but things that are relative that's close to me, not super far out like the 9th house and like Sagittarius. It's something that's more relative and closer to me that I can get access to. Like I could literally drive 30 minutes to an hour away and it's like boom, it's like right there. You know what I'm saying? So that's like my local area and like where I live at and my neighborhood and shit like that. And then I could equate that to close people who are around me, like you know what I'm saying, close family, friends, all that type shit for the most part. So again, it's a fire sign in an air pocket. I mean, my fault. It's a fire house in a air sign type shit. So the air sign is in the fire house, so it's gonna create a sextile and an opportunity to where naturally I'm gonna add a lot of fuel from me being mutable, adaptable, changeable, and flexible to my own or other people's ways when it comes to thinking, communication, and the intellect and the articulation and the analyzing and the communication factors. And it's gonna be real fast paced because it's ruled by Mercury and stuff like that. So I'm able to come up with another way of thinking and another way of analyzing and another way of observing or another way of articulating and stuff like that, all the way down to my mind moving fast and shit like that. And I'll be talking fast. I talk fast as shit. I'll be having to slow down type shit, but it'd be like, yeah, I constantly be on go mode type shit the minute I even start ranting about anything. But it's that mental stimulation and stuff like that. So based upon that mental stimulation, it's just gonna be a whole bunch of different thoughts and ideas. And I have to try to compartmentalize it the fastest way I can and stuff like that. And then my first house would be in Capricorn, which kind of helps with that. So my first house is in Capricorn, right? And the first house deals with personality, personal issues, personal affairs. So anything dealing with you putting yourself earth or the I am type of energy, right? And Yeah. Things that you're personally absorbed into in your personal expression. So based upon that being your personal expression and your personality and your personal issues and your personal insecurities and your personal affairs and stuff like that, anything that deals with you personally, right? When it comes to the I am type of energy and you putting yourself first, that's what everything deal with the first house. And my first house is in Capricorn. So for my first house being in Capricorn, it's an earth sign and a fire house. So I like to ground things when it comes to my personality. I like to, you know what I'm saying? Ground things and make things realistic and materialize when it comes to the things, like, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to like how I want to structure myself and my personality and stuff like that. Even though I can go through different boundaries, restriction, and limits because it's better supported by Saturn, so I will actually be more reserved or put boundaries, restriction, and limits when it comes to how I personally express myself sometimes. But it's only because I want to conduct myself in a certain way to where it's structured. I'm trying to do it in a way to where it makes sense. But then it's a cardinal earth sign. So from it being cardinal earth, I'm gonna initiate and create new ways when it comes to thinking and practicalizing and materializing and making sense out of things. So for me, making sense out of things and making it grounded and making it realistic and making it so I can get some type of monetary gain out of it because it's earth-like qualities and stuff like that. So if it's on earth, it's something that can be like a seed that can grow, and it's gonna be something that's grounded in reality, something that's dealing with the material world and the physical. So I'm gonna take something that's external based upon the body and the flesh and the external tools and technology made from the flesh because it's a wintertime type time and stuff like that, and I'm gonna utilize that thing for recreational use. So based upon whatever business structure I'm trying to, because it's better supported by the 10th house. So based upon whatever business structure that I'm trying to make for myself and stuff like that, I try to be that business. I try to stand on business when it comes to my personality and stuff like that, because I like to initiate new earthly things. I like to initiate new businesses, new infrastructure. I can't even say the word infrastructure. New infrastructure. I don't know why I'm struggling to say that word. New infrastructure, new material things, new physical things that are tangible and realistic, new materializations, new manifestations and stuff like that. If you want to call it that, but it's really just because there's a difference between manifesting and materializing. But like new type of things you can materialize based upon my status and how I want to be broadcasted and things that can be ultimately my career and stuff like that. So look at that as, I'm going to always initiate new fruitful type of energy that I can materialize so I can have some new type of status, some new type of prestige, some new type of boss CEO type of mentality or some shit like that, or new type of product that I can actually get the earnings from, but I'm the one in the individuality who actually made it come into existence because it's still cardinal energy. So if it's still cardinal energy, right? Like all the different cardinal signs, like Aries, Libra, Capricorn, I'm missing one, and Cancer, right? It's still all individuality. It's just in different type of ways and stuff like that. So from it being in Capricorn and stuff like that, I'm like the last remnants because it's better supported by the 10th house. I'm the last remnants when it comes to that individuality. And Aries gonna always personalize and put themselves first, but mine's still gonna be individualized. It's still gonna be personal. I'm still standing on business. I'm still have my own structure. I'm gonna still be independent. That's a better word to use. I'm gonna still be in that independent type of energy. Or I independently want to own my own infrastructure. I independently want to own my own building. Or I independently want to own my own business. I independently want to have my own monetary gain. I independently want to, you know what I'm saying? I independently want to be my own boss and stuff like that. I just do that when it comes to the flesh. Like I do that when it comes to earthly like things. I do that when it comes to money. I do that when it comes to a monetary gain. I do that when it comes to grounding shit. You know what I'm saying? And even if it's not something of the flesh in the body, in the external world and stuff like that, my mentality is like that. Oh, I like to think in a real grounded type way. I like to think in a real realistic type way. I like to think in a real, how can I utilize this thing and actually make it have some type of fortitude? How can I make this be sturdy? How can I make this be stable? How can I make this be strong? How can I let this not, like, you know what I'm saying, stay in that one position? You know what I'm saying? It's hard as a rock. Pause. It's hard as a rock and stuff like that. You can't blow my shit down. You can't break my shit down. I got my shit so structured. I got my shit so set up and stuff like that. It's you know what I'm saying? I got thick ass bricks, you know, and stuff like that. I got a thick ass mentality that you can't just break through. Now I'm gonna stand in this position of status. I'm gonna stand in this position of this enterprise and this business and stuff like that. I'm gonna stand on business when it comes to what the fuck I'm talking about. It's literally like that type of energy. So I like to put that energy first based upon my personality. It's just sometimes it's gonna come off in a way of like me being reserved or me structuring my personality in so much shape or form. But I do that on purpose because I'm like, oh, I'm in this arena at the moment, so let me act, you know what I'm saying, in accordance and add some serious type of energy because I'm seriously trying to ground this energy, and I can't do that in this scenario, in this space and stuff like that, or act in this way unless I handle that first. And that's the first thing when it comes to my personality that I be on. That's the type of time I be on when it comes to standing on business and shit like that. Shout out Drewski. So I'm gonna add both together. So my fifth house lord is in my fourth house, and my first house lord is in my fifth house and stuff like that. So for my fifth house lord being in my fourth house, right, I like to add a whole bunch of different expression and entertainment factor and inner child qualities and my creativity and my creative pursuits and stuff like that, and how I like to entertain and how I like to be center stage and stuff like that when it comes to fourth house type of things. Fourth house type of things deal with like your comfort zone and goddamn the home, the internal realm, domestic issues, family, and then my first house lord is in my fifth house. So I take first house qualities and I put it in my fifth house type shit. So for both of those to add more fuel to the fire when it comes to public speaking and being an orator and shit like that, and how to get better at doing that based upon the 11th house qualities and shit like that, right? I have to do it in a I put my fifth house qualities in the fourth house based upon that house lord. So I need to add more creative attributes when it comes to my comfort zones. I need to add more creative attributes in self-expression when it comes to family dynamics and stuff like that, or domestic issues and stuff like that. So when it comes to home in the eternal realm. So yeah, it could come off in a way to where my home comes off real like artistic or something like that, or real self-expressive. So in my house and stuff like that, I have a lot of creative things going on and things of that nature, but the home just deals with the internal realm as well. So you have to feel at home. I have to feel comfortable with that. So for me, so it's literally the epitome of I have to feel comfortable with my own way of expressing. I have to be comfortable with how I enjoy myself. I have to be comfortable with how I choose to entertain and stuff like that, or being an entertainer and stuff like that. Like I have to be comfortable with being in that position, which is going to help me do that better, which helps with the 11th house qualities. And then my first house lord being my fifth house and stuff like that, right? It's you know what I'm saying? It's a firehouse going to another firehouse. So it's literally doing the same thing, just in different ways. So I have to take my personality and I have to add on to the creative pursuit and stuff like that. I have to add my personality to what my fifth house is doing and stuff like that. And I already told y'all I got fifth house in Gemini, and then my first house is in Capricorn and shit. So it's literally taking the cardinal earth, which is the first house, my mutable air, which is the fifth house, and I'm taking the mutable fire, which is my 11th house and stuff like that, and I'm building these qualities on top of each other. And then the same way how you utilize yours when it comes to the 11th house and the fifth house and the first house to get better at public speaking and being an orator, and you know what I'm saying, conduct yourself in a public arena in so much shape and form, and being into the unknown and unfamiliar. So even if you in a different space for something you're not familiar with and stuff like that, you can get familiar with it, and you can add more awareness, and you can be in that position to where you can be in front of a million people and things of that nature, but you're still going to have your own personalized individualistic way of how you choose to self-express based upon your own charisma, or the you know what I'm saying, like your own way of how you conduct yourself. And you can differentiate yourself, and it helps with the nervousness and anxiety and the stage fright, because you know you basically gonna have those tools in your back pocket to be like, oh, I have to come at it in this type way when it comes to being myself. Now, even if a motherfucker not really into astrology and shit like that, eventually they're gonna figure that out, do different experiences. But for me, giving you the game of this is the very specific way of how you conduct that, you're gonna be able to basically add on to that quality and be tapped in with yourself even better, so you can have your own personal way of how to conduct yourself, so people can come to you with how you choose to be an orator, or how you choose to go about public speaking and stuff like that, and you could be a fucking natural at that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you could be a natural at that shit because you know the specific way of how to express yourself, and you can stand out and be unique, different, original with your specific way of basically explaining like your perspective and your worldviews, or the things that you're teaching people about when it comes to you publicly speaking and stuff like that, and you being an orator, and people can look at you as a oracle, or look at you as a source with how to go about that thing. So you could be on the be like on some TED Talk type of energy, but you got the mentality to where you don't have to go to TikTok. I mean, not TikTok. You can go to, you don't even have to go to TED Talk. You just end up making your own platform and your own infrastructure and your own business and your own thing when it comes to teaching this just in general, because people would rather hear your specific way of how to do it, because how you express yourself, and you're going to come off more like an individual, and then you're able to make your individuality dualistic. So from you making your individuality dualistic, which is just the 11 house qualities just in a nutshell, you're able to take your individuality but also make it relative to other individuals, and you don't get lost into an ego or a bias of how you conduct it, but you still being yourself, and it's going to make other people want to be themselves and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? People going to look at you as an inspiration. People going to look at you as a walking example of how to go about that, and they rather go to you for that specific thing based upon how you doing it, because you're able to access that essence and that source and that substance way better than other people based upon what I'm putting you on game with right now and shit like that. And then that's it. So build on the qualities of the 11th house, and then the 5th house and the 1st house is just adding more fuel to the fire to make you get better at the 11th house qualities, which is the overall video just in general when it comes to public speaking and being an orator and shit.